Is a nice example of reversal in action, which shows some nice twists and turns within the process. The original problem I stated was, how do I get the new communications team to engage and be more effective? This was an organisation that had recently drawn a group of volunteers together, kind of a self-selecting group who were motivated to drive the communication process across the entire organisation. Before leaping into idea generation, of course, we have to make sure we explore the problem in more depth. So we had an initial pass using dimensional analysis, and that transformed the problem definition, interestingly, to how do I create a culture of engagement with communication? So moving away from the focus being the team itself, delivering the message, to focusing on all the rest of the organisation and the culture to make sure that the receivers were suitably engaged. We then went through boundary examination using a bigger team of people to generate some creativity to explore that problem in even more depth. And we ended up with, in what way might I guarantee that everyone values the information provided? So we're starting to get some definition around what we mean by engagement in that particular part of the process. We're then ready to move forward to idea generation. And the first step of that is to reverse that problem definition. Rather than to make something better, what we're looking to do is to make it considerably worse. And we ended up with a neat problem definition, which was, how do we guarantee that all staff despise all communication, which is quite nice and quite provocative. The most outrageous idea that generated a degree of hilarity was that anyone receiving information alongside that information should also get a slap in the face and perhaps some sort of insult thrown at their mother in some way. A little bit more specific in the brainstorming session. And clearly that would shock anyone and lead to a degree of despising around the whole process, which is exactly what we're looking to achieve. So it matched the problem definition very nicely. Next step is to understand why it worked. What are the features of that that we can identify that would connect and deliver the solution? And clearly there's a degree of physical pain within this. It actually hurts. And it demonstrates a massive disrespect, both the physical slap but also the insult that comes with it. There's also kind of a perpetual nature to that. It's ever sitting in the background with a degree of mental torture. No one knows quite when they're going to receive the information, but they do know that if and when it happens, it's going to hurt and be unpleasant. So there's an ever-present anxiety, which we quite like within this as well. So it wasn't just the point of receipt, it was the anticipation of receipt of information that was important as well. So what we then do is look at reversing that idea. Having reversed the problem to generate that idea, we then reverse that idea back and hopefully generate a stunning creative insight into the initial problem definition. So what we're looking to do is transform from a shock state to an elated state in some way. I'm not quite sure if this cartoon amply captures elation, but it's the best I could find. And we started to explore what were the characteristics of that elation on receipt of information. And we talked about actually generating goosebumps, the idea that when you receive the information, it gives you a lovely feeling that's quite exhilarating, and it kind of gives you a buzz. We also talked about the addictive nature of that obviously despising was the very negative element of it. Having an addiction to the whole communication process would be the very reverse of that. So we talked about there being multi-channels for communication, and you can kind of pick your drug of choice when it comes to the communication process. So we like that. We like that definition. It gave us a much stronger sense of focus and purpose. But clearly that has a major impact on the team and the team makeup. So having moved away from the team in the first place to look at the culture, by exploring the culture and looking at the receptivity of the individuals across the organisation, we're back focusing on the team itself, because clearly the makeup of that team and the training of that team is going to be critically important, which then makes one question whether simple volunteers are going to be the way forward, that maybe you need to handpick a little bit more, and certainly the training that required comes to the absolute surface. Interesting. Twists and turns throughout.